All right, folks, today we are discussing simulations, like I just said. So, when I say the word simulation, what comes to mind? What do you think of? Any thought? Yes.
An imitation of a real life scenario.
An imitation of a real life scenario. Think of the world or a virtual reality. Yep, good answers from the chat. I know the first thing that comes to my mind is first, this meme, just like the simulations. And then Neil says life. I think of just a variety of video games like The Sims or Goat Simulator was really popular for a while. Surgeon Simulator, things like pretending to do something essentially. So they're all good examples of a simulation. So let's discuss simulations in a slightly more general sense rather than just video games or virtual reality. So a simulation is a program that is designed to simulate, wow, who would have guessed, some real-life scenario. Simulations are useful because they allow us to mimic real-world events without risking real-world costs or dangers. They also allow us to see potential outcomes of different scenarios and potentially tweak inputs to see different outcomes. Some example simulations are building bridges. Engineers can simulate the building of a bridge to see if their architecture will be able to withstand the weight of vehicles on it. There are flight simulators. Microsoft just released a super popular flight simulator that can be used to teach people how to fly a plane or to just kind of fly around the world and experience life in the sky. We can even do things like simulate gravity in space. We can see all these particles moving around, being affected by gravity, being affected by each other. So there's all kinds of different things we can simulate using computers. So all simulations are built based on a model of how the world works. And we make a model to just give us a set of rules for how things are going to interact in the simulation. Our world in general is super duper complex. There are all kinds of things happening all the time. So having a model, having a simplified model can make creating a simulation much easier because we can get rid of extraneous factors. We can just look at the things that we care about. So one famous simulation is called Conway's Game of Life. It simulates cell-like beings living and dying based on some set of rules, which are outlined in this model here. So every cell is going to be a box on a grid, and if that cell is alive, the square will be black. If the square is dead, the square will be white. We're going to start our simulation with a random number of living cells, and then each time we check something, each time we iterate through our simulation, if a cell has fewer than 2 living neighbors, it's going to die. If a cell has 2 living neighbors, it's going to stay how it is. If it has 3 living neighbors, it's going to come alive. And if it has 4 or more living neighbors, it's going to die. So this is going to create a whole bunch of flux. And this simulation is pretty simple, but it gives us a good idea of how simulations work in general, right? We can potentially expand this simulation. We can make our model more complex than these 4 simple rules. We can see how populations might grow or shrink as a result of things like genetics or disease. So one of our examples today is running this code. So this is available for you to mess around with. Let's run it and just take a look at what it looks like. If it works, let's try refreshing the page. Okay. So why is it flashing? There we go. So every so often I have it set to to wait for a bit before doing its next cycle. But each time through, it's following those rules, and we can see cells coming alive, cells dying, according to this pattern. I can change the size of my grid. I can change how big my boxes are. I can change a whole bunch of different factors about the simulation if I wanted to see different things about it. You can see it's reached a state of equilibrium here. All of these cells are going to stay alive or dead because they're in a configuration where they are fitting the rules. Nothing's going to change. So I can change, let's say I go to 40 rows and 40 columns. I'm going to change my box size to maybe 10. And let's change our delay to be 0.5. So now we have way more cells, and it's also going much faster. So we can see how fast this reaches equilibrium or how fast it just continues to work. So we can observe this simulation and see how it runs. So that's one simulation that's a pretty famous one. When we're building simulations, if we have a simple model, that's going to make our simulation faster and easier to run. As our model gets more complex, it requires more computing power to generate our simulation. And that's why it's difficult to simulate the world exactly as it is, and why we use a model to simplify various factors so that we don't have to deal with more of the complex things. Usually, models are going to simplify the world in order to focus only on the important thing that needs to be simulated. We can ignore gravity sometimes. We can ignore air resistance. We can have just 2 dimensions instead of 3 dimensions. It really depends on what you're trying to simulate. The possibilities are absolutely endless. So I'm going to show you 2 different gravity simulations. This is a simpler one. It's got one ball. That one ball has an x velocity and a y velocity. And at each moment in the simulation, we're going to add 5 to our y velocity. And if the ball hits a wall, it's going to reverse its velocity. So I have this one running as well. Can make the screen a little bigger. Just kidding. I'm going to refresh the page. All right, let's try again. And it's not showing up. Try it one more time. Please. This was working last night. There we are. So we can see the ball bouncing. When it hits a wall, it bounces back the other direction. And I'm printing out its y velocity each time, just so that we can see what's going on. In this simulation, I can change the acceleration due to gravity. I can make it fall faster. I can change how big the ball is. I can change where it starts. I can change how big the area is. So we can change a variety of factors in this simple simulation of making a ball bounce. A more complex gravity simulation would be that one that we saw a little GIF of earlier. Here we have a variety of different celestial objects. Each one has its own mass, it has its own velocity, and at each moment in the simulation, as we can see, it's moving pretty smoothly. So there's moments happening very, very quickly here. At each moment, every particle is being pulled toward every other particle according to this force calculation based on its own mass, the mass of every other object, and the distance between them. So this is a much more complex simulation, and because we have a much more complex equation going on. So simulations are often used to predict just things in general about the world around us. We can make a model, and then we can use real information about the world, and then we can simulate it thousands of times over and over, potentially changing some inputs to find out what is most likely to happen in any given scenario. We can predict sports standings. This is, I think, from 2016. What sports team is most likely to win some championship based on their previous statistics against other teams, see how well they are, how likely they are to win some championship. We can simulate games of chess, for example, to help an AI figure out what moves tend to be the best. You can see the computer playing a very fast game of chess here. So we can help a computer get good at chess. And at this point, computers, like humans have developed an AI that can beat any human at chess. Doesn't matter how good the human is at chess, the computer will always win. So simulations allow us to form and test our hypotheses about how the world works. So when I'm using a simulation, I can test and then improve my hypothesis easily. And I can improve my simulation with rapid testing and tweaking. Cool? Cool. All right, folks, that is our lesson.